What it's like being Asian Russian in Russia and in Asia. Hello, my name is Guzel and I was born and raised in Russia, even though ethnically I'm not Russian. In this video I will tell you where exactly I'm from, which part of Russia, what my ethnicity is, and how non-Slavic people are treated in Russia. We will talk about racism, nationalism, why I left Russia, and how I live here in Asia. Okay, first of all, let's start from some geography. Russia is not only the biggest country in the world, it's also diverse. It has more than 80 regions or federal subjects, and 22 of them are republics. Each republic has its own language, culture, and sometimes even its own president and parliament. When people abroad think of Russia, they usually imagine Slavic people, maybe with blonde hair, blue eyes, and usually they know only cities like Moscow and St. Petersburg. But the truth is, in Russia, there live more than 190 different ethnicities. There are Tatars, Bashkirs, Yakuts, Buryats, Chechens, Tuvans, Kalmyks, and many more, all with unique cultures, languages, and appearances. Where I'm from exactly and what's my ethnicity? I'm ethnically Bashkir. I was born in the city Ufa. Ufa is the capital of Republic Bashkortostan. Mostly Bashkir people, they live in this republic. And also there are borders between Europe and Asia. This republic located close to Ural Mountains and close to the country Kazakhstan. And I can say we look like maybe more Kazakh people. My name, Guzel, it's not a typical name for Russian people, and they usually ask me, what is your name? Why? Where are you from? But this name is one of the most popular names in this republic. And by the way, if you know Turkish, probably you know the meaning of this word Guzel. When I visit Turkey, people always ask me, is it your real name? Do you know the meaning of this name? Do you speak Turkish? Actually, I understand their reaction because just imagine you see someone and you ask them, hello, what's your name? And this person replies, hello, my name is Beautiful. My parents gave me the name Beautiful. I guess this is so strange for them. It happens because Bashkir language is a Turkic group of languages. And that's why if you know some Turkic group of languages, so probably you will understand some of the words in Bashkir. For example, the book is kitap and the world is dunya and hello is hauma or salam. Go forward. It's like Allah. And I know that in a lot of this group of languages, we have kind of the same pronunciation, kind of the same word. I speak both languages, Russian and Bashkir. But to be honest, not all Bashkir people speak Bashkir language, but they all speak Russian language. But anyway, in this republic, and I know in other republics, school will teach you Russian language, of course, it's necessary. Also, it will teach you one foreign language, probably it's gonna be English. And in some regions, in some republics, they will also teach you your native language. And what is really funny, for example, in airports in Ufa, in my hometown, flight announcements are made in 3 languages: Russian, English, and Bashkir. That's even funny for Russian people. Okay, let's talk about the appearance. If you look at Bashkir people, you will mostly see more Asian people than Slavic or even European people. We often resemble Kazakh people or people from Central Asia, dark hair, tan skin, Asian eye shapes. But I also need to mention I'm not talking about all Bashkir people, because actually you can see a lot of people with more light skin, with bright hair and green eyes. I have relatives, for example, my aunt, who is more white. I don't know how to explain. She has green eyes and not blonde hair, but it's not so dark as mine. But if we talk about the face shape, especially the eyes, mostly all of us look more Asian. What is the population in this republic? The first place is ethnically Russian people, second place ethnically Bashkir people, and the third is Tatar. If you know, Tatar people, they are also one of the larger groups in Russia, and mostly they live in Republic Tatarstan, and these 2 republics, Bashkortostan and Tatarstan, they're really close. Actually, our languages, it's super close, so we can even understand each other. So in general, I can say we Bashkir people more close, maybe not to Asian countries like China, Korea, Japan. We more close to Central Asia. Now let's talk about more complicated topic, nationalism and racism. If you search YouTube for videos like how do Russians treat black people, you will mostly see positive answers like Russians are very nice, there is no racism. And in many cases that's true.
I was holding on to before I got here. I got to know that Russians are very racist, but surprisingly I got here and it was nothing close to that.
But the question should also be, how do these Russian people treat people from Central Asia and even Russian people but who are not look like Slavic? Because that's a different story, and I'm gonna tell you about that now. First of all, we will talk about the real foreigners from Central Asian countries. Why? Because we Bashkir people, we really look like them. I guess people really can't say that this girl or this man, they from Russia or from another country. Every year, people from countries like Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan and others come to Russia, especially to Moscow, to work. Why? Because salaries in Moscow are much higher, and first, in Moscow you'll be able to find a lot of work and you'll be able to earn money. Mostly immigrants work in construction, delivery and in taxi services. And I'm not gonna talk about the all Russian people, but mostly I hope to believe they treat them very respectfully, they kind. But some people, no, they don't like them. They can tell them like, go to your homeland, go to your country, why you coming here, why are you working here, or something like that. And even sometimes they use very offensive words. This word is churka. I actually don't know what does it mean, why they use this. It's a racial slur, and unfortunately I've heard this kind of word even from my friends, even from my parents' relatives, some people that I know. Yeah, even nowadays people can use this word. Another thing, in Moscow, in metro, police always check your documents. They don't check everyone, but they usually do it. And I think sometimes they do it just because they're boring. You know, you just stand the whole day, do nothing, and you're just like, oh, okay, I want to check these documents. I don't know. That's how I see it. Technically, of course, they can stop anyone. But what I noticed, they usually mostly stop people with non-Slavic appearance and mostly men than women. It's subtle, but very visible when you live there. Of course, they also stop Russian people, of course they also stop foreigners, but in my opinion, if you are a man and you look like from Central Asia, or in general you just don't look Slavic, so probably they will stop you. I always say there are good people and bad people in every nationality. It doesn't really depend where you're from, what's your nationality, what language you speak, but discrimination does exist, and I'm not talking only about Russia, it exists in every country. Another question is, do you feel yourself as local in Moscow or in general in Russia? When I lived in my hometown in Ufa, I was local because my appearance, I really look like typical Bashkir girl, and my name is super popular Bashkir name, and it was obvious that I'm Bashkir. Nobody asked me where you're from, what are you doing here. It was really obvious. But when I was 18 years old, I moved to Moscow to study at medical university, and I felt that I'm kind of different. First of all, people was curious about my name. It was unusual for them. And I really like this fact. Do you know why? Because when I was a kid, I always asked my parents, why did you give me this common name? I want unusual name, something very interesting, very beautiful. Why did you give me this name? Because there are a lot of girls with the same name and I didn't like it. But in Moscow, I felt that my name is unusual. And I'm just like, wow, that's cool. And of course, people ask me, where are you from? I always said that I'm from Ufa, it's in Bashkortostan. Do you know where is it? I always ask people when I say my hometown, do you know where is it? Because Ufa, it's not a small city, there live more than 1 million people, but I know a lot of people, they don't really know geography very well. Even myself, like, I'm not good in geography, okay? So I understand them. And I think that's totally okay if they ask you that kind of questions, because you see someone who doesn't look like you, who doesn't have Slavic appearance, someone who has really strange, maybe interesting, unusual name, of course you want to ask him, where are you from? And I guess most people, when they ask this question, they mean from what country you are. They treat you as a foreigner. But kind of problem started when people made some assumptions. For example, in some offices, in some organizations, people could ask me, what is your citizenship? Do you have temporary registration here? If you don't know, all foreigners should have a temporary registration in every country. But those people, they ask me these questions before even looking at my passport. You can just open my passport and you can see that I have Russian citizenship, okay? They ask that because they just see your face. Let's talk about another question, is renting apartment. A few years ago, if you're looking for an apartment on websites, in the description you could see the phrase only for Slavs, only for ethnically Russian people. What does it mean? They don't want to give for rent an apartment for not Slavic or not Russian people. I know that after that, one website or a few websites, they told them now you can't put into the description this phrase only for Slavs, only for Russian, it's prohibited. But anyway, if they don't write, when you call them, they can ask you where you're from. First years I lived in student dorm, but then I wanted to leave. I was looking for an apartment, and once I had this really strange call. I liked some apartment, I called them, agent answered me, and we were talking nicely, everything was fine, but then she asked me, what is your name, how old are you? And I said my name is Guzel and I'm like around 20 plus years old. After that, when she heard my name, the tone of her voice and this conversation really changed. I explained that I'm from Ufa, from Bashkortostan, it's in Russia, blah blah blah. Probably she didn't know where is it or something, so I didn't even watch this apartment and I didn't really want to watch it because of this conversation. Of course, later I found really nice apartment with really kind, good landlord, but this experience stayed with me. Why I'm sharing with you this story? Because I want to tell you it happens not only with foreigners from other countries, it also happens with Russian people in Russia. Like they don't want to give you apartment, they will ask where you're from, etc, etc. And I know people from other parts of Russia, for example from the Caucasus, like Chechens, Dagestanis, Assyrians and others, also face similar problems, even though they're Russian citizens. And for migrants and for people from other countries, it's even harder. Another story. The strange thing that happened to me, it was at university. I was answering a professor's question during class and somehow topic turned to helmets. I studied at medical university, as you remember, but this professor started emphasizing that in Central Asia, people have more helmets and have more problem with that. Repeating it several times while looking me in the eye. It was so weird and it was so strange. I think maybe it was nothing personal and I just made it up, but after that he asked me, hey Guzel, but where are you from? And I'm just like, oh my gosh. But before that situation, actually I liked this professor. He was really good, really nice person. It was really interesting in his classes, but I don't know, once I was just expecting, now he's gonna ask me, do you have helmets or not? Okay, in general, I never faced a real hate or some real problem, but the small moments make you realize you're not always treated the same way. I often think that if I were a man and I had accent when I speak Russian, my experience probably would have been different. Anyway, I always had very smart, very kind people around me, my classmates, my friends there. They're really, really smart, educated people. But anyway, it doesn't matter what kind of surrounding do you have. You can pace with it, like you can do nothing with it. So, does nationalism and racism exist in Russia? Yes, of course, but it exists in every country, not only in Russia. Most people that I know, they're open-minded, kind, and respectful. How people treat me in Asia. Another question is, why Vietnam? You know, some of my friends, when I told them that I moved to Vietnam, they told me like, oh, I'm not really surprised that you want to live abroad. That was maybe kind of obvious, but they asked me, why Vietnam? This is so unusual. And it was really unusual for me because at first I was thinking about Turkey, but then I decided Vietnam. Why? Because first of all, it's kind of exotic for me. The climate, the weather, endless summer here. There is no winter, there is no snow. And Vietnamese, they're really nice people, and also it's really cheap to live here if we compare with other countries. How do people treat me here in Vietnam and in other Asian countries? first days, of course, I was looking for an apartment and I found some Russian-speaking agent and she really helped me to find this apartment. I really like it. And of course, she asked me where you're from, what is your citizenship, but I think that's okay. Like even in Vietnam, you'll have those questions from Russian people. Once, one Vietnamese man told me that he was thinking that I'm Malaysian, that I'm from Malaysia. I don't know why. I might look like Malaysian, I don't know. And sometimes on the street, in the supermarket, people start talk to me in Vietnamese and I just tell them, sorry, but I don't understand you, and they just leave me. Probably that happens because they think that I'm Vietnamese. And only once here, American person told me that he knew that I'm Russian. He said it was because of the clothes, but I wasn't dressed up. I didn't wear dress or a lot of makeup or something. He was the only one person who told me that I thought you're Russian. And by the way, one thing happened for me in Thailand. When I was on the plane, flight attendant started speaking to me in Thai language and then just like, what? I'm sorry? And she started to speak English like, you're not Thai, right? I said no, and she just like, okay, I'm sorry. And she left. I don't really know what she told me, and I'm still curious what she wanted to tell me, like what she didn't translate into English. Like anyway, that's okay. So in general, even in other countries, people always ask me, are you Russian? Really? I thought you are Vietnamese, Malaysian, Thai, etc. So yeah, currently I live in Asia. Do I really want to stay here forever? No. If I had a lot of money, I would rather choose United States. Why? Because it's my dream since I was a kid. Probably that's because of the American movies, but it's really hard to get there and it's really expensive for me now. But I hope in future I will visit this country one day. Okay, conclusion. To be honest, I never felt 100% local in Moscow. And of course, I'm not local in Vietnam or in any other Asian countries. Probably the only place where I feel myself 100% local only in my hometown in Ufa. But I think it's totally normal to feel yourself foreigner in a foreign country. But it's really strange to feel yourself foreigner in your own country. So this is my story. If you have any thoughts about that, please write in the comment, and it will be really interesting for me to know where you're from. Why did you choose this video? It will be really interesting to read. Okay, and see you in the next video. Bye.